Good morning. This is Pastor Brian Anderson from the Bridge Church here in Rancho Cordova, and we are going to be looking at a story in the book of Matthew chapter 14. I'm sure you've heard the story. It's where Jesus feeds the 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. So in this chapter, we find this particular story, but we think it was 5,000. Actually, it was far more than that. It was probably something like 15 or 20,000 people, because the 5,000 only includes the men. There were also women and children at this gathering. So it was a huge, enormous group of people, an incredible need that was presented. All of them were hungry. All of them needed food. And the only food that they could come up with was 5 small fish and 2 small loaves, more like biscuits. This would be what a small child would have for lunch. So it was not very much food. So the disciples came up with a solution. They said, send them away into the village to buy food. Jesus came up with a solution. His was, you give them something to eat. So the disciples heard Jesus' words, and I'm sure they just felt it was impossible. And it was. If they try to feed 15 or 20,000 people with just those 5 little fish and 2 small loaves or biscuits, it's going to be impossible. They don't have the resources to be able to meet the demands of Jesus Christ. He's commanded them to do something, and they feel it's utterly impossible. And it is if they rely upon their own resources. So Jesus commands them to bring the loaves and the fish to him. Then he blessed them. He broke the loaves, and he gave them to the disciples, and they distributed them, and the need was met. So, wonder of wonders, they were obeying his impossible command. They were actually doing what he commanded them to do, something that was absolutely impossible. They were actually doing the impossible. Why? Because they took what they had, they brought it to him, they surrendered those resources to Jesus, and then they just trusted that he would do what was impossible for them to do. He would empower the whole situation. So what this story teaches me is that I can obey any command that Jesus Christ gives me, no matter how impossible it might seem to me, if I will just surrender to him what I have and then depend upon him to empower me. And in this way, all the joy is mine and all the glory is his. So I want to ask you, will you surrender to Jesus today? Will you put all that you have at his disposal? It might be your money, your possessions, your gifts, your abilities, your position, your influence, your time, your energy, whatever that happens to be that you have, surrender it. Give him rights of ownership over all of that. And then trust him to empower you to do what he's commanded you to do. And then watch him work. May God richly bless you today.